Today is Friday, August 13th. Welcome to this edition of Nevada County Now. Today's episode we're talking fair, river fire relief, drones, and more. Hello and welcome to Nevada County Now. I'm your host, Cole Pettit. The river fire, which started last Wednesday, is 95% contained, and now we start the recovery process. Joining us for more on how our community is assisting in this process, here's Taylor Wolfe, Public Information Officer for the County of Nevada.
Thank you, Cole. For today's Nevada County update, I'll be sharing an update on river fire recovery process, the recent surge in COVID cases, and a final reminder to apply for our 2021 Citizens Academy before August 15th. Last Wednesday, the river fire started next to the Bear River in Colfax. It quickly jumped the river, burning over 2,600 acres and destroying over 100 homes in Nevada and Placer counties. The river fire is now at over 90% containment, and our Nevada County Office of Emergency Services is moving into the recovery process for residents who lost or had damage to their homes during the river fire. Resources for fire survivors are available at readynevadacounty.org/riverfirerecovery. Our Office of Emergency Services is also partnering with Cal OES and Placer County to host a local assistance center this Friday until 7 p.m. and Saturday from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. at Colfax Elementary School. The local assistance center will be a one-stop shop for recovery and rebuilding information, and resources with local, state, and nonprofit agencies will be available. Our community has also gone above and beyond to support residents impacted by the river fire. Our fairgrounds and Nevada County Veterinary Disaster Response Team provided emergency shelter 24 hours a day for over 500 animals during the river fire event. Within 36 hours after a call for assistance was made, over 100 of our community members offered their stalls, pens, and yards to help shelter these animals displaced by the river fire. The Nevada County Relief Fund launched the River Fire Relief Fund the day after the river fire began, and to date has raised over $60,000 that will go directly to river fire survivors to support them through the recovery process. To learn more or donate, visit nevcorelief.org. A reminder that our annual Code Red Emergency Alert Test is coming up on Monday, August 16th, for residents registered for Code Red alerts in Nevada County. Code Red emergency alerts require registration at readynevadacounty.org/emergency alerts or by dialing 1-833-DIAL-211. And these alerts are used judiciously when a wildfire poses a serious potential threat to life and property. With more fire season ahead, please make sure you are signed up to participate in our test of the system on Monday. Visit readynevadacounty.org/emergency alerts to register and find tips on how to optimize Code Red alerts by adding the Code Red numbers into your contacts.
Thanks, Taylor. We'll check back in with Taylor in a little bit, but for now we'll move on to the fair, which is back in full swing, and despite the heat and recommended COVID guidance, many people are out enjoying this year's event after the forced cancellation last year. We went out there this morning to chat with some folks about their experience so far.
So what's your name?
Sue Bartow.
All right, and this is your horse here, Sue?
This is one of my horses. This is Roxy. She's a registered American quarter horse.
Cool. And what's it like to be back at the fair after having a full year off? And
It's good to be back. I knew we needed to shut down last year for obvious reasons, but I was so glad we were able to keep it going this year. I think the community needed it. The people who who are part of the fair needed it. I just think it's been good overall. I mean, it's been a tough decision. Don't get me wrong. I can see both sides of it, but I think overall it's been good for the community.
Our husbands didn't come because it was going to be too crowded, long line for parking, too hot. We got here We parked inches from the front door. They let everybody in early, so it was beautiful to walk around the fair. Then, it's not hot yet, and we did the whole fair. I got to see all the booths. This was our last because I have so many artist friends in town. So that was it. We finished it with the art exhibit and probably end up with Lazy Dog ice cream.
It doesn't look any different.
Yeah, kind of feels basically the same.
Yeah, we're okay. I just wanted to let you know, though, we're 3 generations here at the fair.
That's wonderful.
My
That's how it's
grandma?
supposed to be.
And then my girls and my grandkids.
And is this your painting right there?
Yes, it is. Would you believe I named it Cell Phone? You got this guy, he's in this very expensive boat. He's sitting on the San Francisco Bay, and what's he doing? Cell phone.
What's your favorite part about being out here at the fair?
Well, I honestly haven't left the horse area at all. So I do demonstrations in the arena. And so my heart's with the agriculture and with all the kids in the fair. I work with the 4-H kids. So my heart is all with the livestock events. And I don't even make it over to the other side.
In a way, because everything was so smooth coming in here, maybe it's real crowded during the day or at night. So the lack of crowds makes me think that maybe people are still worried. Damn this spike that is hitting. And so my friend and I, anytime we get close at all here, we're putting our mask on. But it's going to be a while till COVID is really out of our lives, and I'm very sad to see the spike. I thought it was over. I must have had about a month feeling good about having 2 shots and safe and hugging people, and now I'm not hugging anymore.
Yeah, I know. I'm right there with you.
Yeah.
Did the same thing, and we feeling like things are finally getting back to normal, relaxing a little bit, and then here we are. But at least we still get to get back out and enjoy some of this kind of stuff.
Yes. So and these fairgrounds are the best in the world. I mean, to walk around there under the trees, it's cool. Yeah, we're lucky.
As per usual, the fair will run until Sunday at 11 p.m. To find the full fair guide with all the information you need, visit nevadacountyfair.com. We've seen an increase of 411 COVID-19 cases this week. Our overall total now sits at 6,182 confirmed cases. 547 cases are currently active. Our hospitalizations rose as well this week to 23, and sadly, we've had 2 deaths, increasing our total to 77. Back with more on the COVID situation, as well as additional news from the county. Once again, here's Taylor Wolfe, Public Information Officer for the County of Nevada.
For this week's COVID update, Nevada County saw the most COVID-19 cases in a single week since the beginning of the pandemic, with 443 cases last week. Cases have increased by 1,200% since the week of July 1st. With the Delta variant up to 60% more infectious than the original strain and COVID hospitalizations nearly doubling compared to previous highs in the pandemic, public health and local healthcare officials are urging residents to take precautions. Due to the surge in new COVID cases, the Nevada County Fairgrounds, Sierra Nevada Memorial Hospital, Nevada County Public Health, and local health leaders are strongly recommending that all who attend the fair wear a mask both indoors and outdoors, regardless of your vaccination status, and that those 65 and older or with underlying health conditions can consider skipping the fair this year due to having a higher risk of getting seriously sick from COVID. If you are planning on going to the fair, you can help limit the spread by washing your hands frequently and attending during less crowded hours or avoiding crowded areas, in addition to wearing your mask. Getting vaccinated continues to be the best way to prevent serious illness and death from COVID. Vaccine appointments are still widely available at myturn.ca.gov. If you have questions about getting vaccinated, visit covid19.ca.gov/vaccines. Last but not least, there's just a few days left to apply for our 2021 Citizens Academy by August 15th. Citizens Academy gives participants a behind-the-scenes look at county government, opportunities to meet county department heads, and network amongst their classmates. Classes are Monday evenings beginning in September through December. Find more information and apply online by August 15th at mynevadacounty.com/Citizens Academy. That's it for my Nevada County update this week. Find all this information and more by subscribing to our weekly county newsletter at mynevadacounty.com/Nevada County News. Have a great weekend, everyone.
Thanks again, Taylor. This week's Board of Supervisors meeting featured some spirited discussions about a variety of topics, including the Pines to Mines Trail and the use of drones. We'll start with the Pines to Mines Trail, which is a project aimed at linking over 80 miles of existing trails between Nevada City and Truckee. It came before the board to determine whether they would help to fund a proposal for an environmental study. The sticking point was the inclusion of e-bikes in the proposal by the Forest Service, who will be the main entity overseeing the study and the trail project. Let's take a look at the discussion.
Okay, so the Pines to Mines Trail is a proposed 80-mile backcountry trail experience that would connect Truckee with Nevada City. Now, one of the biggest selling points of this trail is that we don't actually have to build 80 miles. So when the partners got together early on in this process, they managed to piece together a route that took some really great trails on the Truckee end and some really great trails on the Nevada City end, and then hired a consultant to go out and do field work for that middle section. And we found that we really only need about 23 miles of trails in this no man's land and that space in between our towns, which is much more palatable in my mind than building 80 miles. Once this trail is built, those of us in Truckee can now get from Truckee to Grouse Ridge without having to get into a car. We can't do that right now. Those of you in Nevada City can get your hiking boots on and strap on your backpack and go from Nevada City all the way up to Truckee and hook up with the Pacific Crest Trail. And we all know that can get you all the way up to Canada or already down to Mexico. If you want to go east, take Pines to Mines to Truckee, and then the Tahoe Pyramid Trail from Truckee to Reno all the way to Pyramid Lake. And I guess my point is we're not just talking about a trail that connects Truckee with Nevada City. We're talking about a trail that's going to be part of this renaissance that's taking place, that's going to create more options to get trail users out on trails, creating new opportunities, and kind of dispersing trail use as well. So there's more elbow room for all of us. And I think we can all agree that we'd like a little more elbow room when we're out using trails.
And then finally, I know there's just a lot of concern about the inclusion of e-bikes, so I want to just get clarity on that. Is it correct that you have included e-bikes because that is a use that's already happening and so you need to assess that?
So any environmental assessment of trail use at this point would need to include an alternative that looked at least Class 1 e-bike use. That use is occurring on the trail. Our estimates are somewhere between 20 and 25% of current users.
So when we started this trail project, it was talked about non-motorized. Okay, so that was the main intent when we started from here. So when this goes to that, when it gets out to public comment and those types of things, that still is where you're going to make that kind of decision, and that's going to come from public comment at that point? Because I'm just curious, because there are non-motorized trails like the Pacific Crest Trail, correct? I know they had to fight for that at one time. It went to court. So I'm just asking how that plays into this. Because that was the plan in the beginning. This was non-motorized, and now we're kind of expanding that. So I'm just curious inside that.
So the question of this sort of dichotomous approach of motorized to non-motorized is in some ways not totally useful as we manage trails today, because as we all know, we have different types of non-motorized users who can be in conflict with each other. We have different types of motorized users that can be in conflict with each other. So what we really try and look at is, what is the trail experience? What are those potential conflicts on a particular trail based on the route, et cetera, those factors that I talked about previously. So that's the question here as well. What are those users that we should include as being uses that available for this particular trail. And yes, that the public comment that would be particularly related to the draft environmental assessment, where we look at, well, here's one scenario where we have these users on this alignment, and here's another scenario where we have these uses on this alignment. That's really where the best time to weigh in on the use question is going to be.
I just can't support this at this point unless it does not have the motorized vehicles in there. I support it. I love the trail idea. I love trails. But in this case, I don't see it, in my mind, going forward with the motorized part in there.
Ed, are you saying pull the analysis of motorized vehicles from the scope of services?
That's what I would say.
Okay, just want to clarify that.
Ultimately, the board voted 5-0 to move forward with funding the study while excluding e-bikes from the trail use study, though some question still remains as to how this will affect the study moving forward. Another issue reviewed at the Board of Supervisors was the use of drones in a pilot program specific to unpermitted commercial cannabis enforcement. Programs like this already exist in several other local counties, including Yolo, Humboldt, and Glenn. Let's take a look at this discussion.
On May 25th of this year, staff presented general information regarding options for implementing a pilot program for unmanned aircraft system technology for land use activities. Following review of this presentation, your board directed staff to return with a presentation of a blueprint for a UAS pilot program specific to enforcement of unpermitted cannabis operations in our community.
So to give an example of what this procedure looks like, when a neighborhood complaint is received, staff will attempt to investigate, as they already do, utilizing a publicly accessible area, possibly other vantage points, the reporting party's parcel if consent is provided. When they're unable to view the cannabis but have suspicion that cannabis is being being cultivated unpermitted, staff will come back and create an operation plan that is reviewed and approved by the program manager. A certified cannabis staff member will then go out and utilize the tool, as shown here, flying vertically, to hopefully view the unpermitted cannabis and proceed with the case.
Thank you for the presentation, and I know we've been through all of this a few times, but I still have some questions that I feel are unanswered. You mentioned that the helicopter flight, satellite imagery is expensive, and the helicopter flight is $900 an hour. About 4 years ago, before we had a permitted program, when I was advocating for a permitted cannabis program, I went up in a 3-seat plane with the sheriff's office, and they wanted to show me the extent of the grows out in the rural area. So we were up for about an hour and a half. We saw dozens and dozens and dozens of grows. I asked them if they were able to identify what address they were, and they said usually they could, not always, but were going to go back to the ground and do that effort. I'm wondering why we aren't considering this. If we can do it $900 flight or, $1,200, have several dozen potential grows, go back, figure out who's permitted and who isn't, find the ones that aren't permitted, and then if we take those and go out and go after them for not being permitted, we can also address all the environmental issues because we're now there and we're addressing the problem. Seems to me that would be cost effective and much less invasive of people's privacy. Have we considered that thoroughly?
Supervisor Hall, so we still do fly with the water board. We collaborate quite frequently throughout the year, and that's how we're aware of what's involved with helicopter flights. So our ordinance requires us to re-inspect the site fairly often if there's non-compliance, and that's where the issue really lies, is us having to continuously go out, which in this case would be continuously flying, and that cost throughout the years. This is a one-time cost. As opposed to a helicopter, which would be, per case $900 an hour times how many times you need to go up and view that parcel. I also would like to mention that As far as the privacy rights go, I think we probably would still have some of the same concerns with a helicopter, as they can fly as low as about 400 feet, in addition to the noise nuisance in a helicopter versus an unmanned, smaller tool.
The board voted 4-1 to approve this program, with District 1 Supervisor Heidi Hall as the lone dissenting vote. The National Weather Service in Sacramento is calling for a chance of isolated shower and thunderstorm activity this afternoon and evening across the NorCal High Country and Plateau regions. Watch out for lightning, gusty winds, brief heavy rain, and possible new fire starts. Late tonight and into tomorrow, there's a chance for some additional smoke in the area from the fires burning in the North State. As always, take precautions if necessary. Those with underlying conditions should be extra cautious and stay indoors if possible. For the most current air quality, visit airnow.gov. We'll leave you this evening with some more from the fair. Remember, if you do head out there, Nevada County Public Health has advised the use of masks for everyone, both indoors and outdoors. And remember, stay safe, take care of each other. We'll see you next week.
Is there a favorite treat that you have? Some food or something?
Well, yeah, I have pumpkin cheesecake in mine.
Ah, okay.
Oh, yeah.
Well, good luck finding that around here. I'm not sure you're going to find that, but maybe, you never know. Have to look hard.
She might eat it, might not. It doesn't taste as good as an apple.
Oh, not so much, huh? No, not into that. Okay, sweet girl.
Today they're going to be doing it. They're packing.
What's that? We'll get that back on.
Did you put that back on?
That's okay.
This will be his first.